So thank you again for joining. We're joined by Hey Now Media's Matt Sobel, and he's going to share some best practices and answer some questions today on how to enhance your social media presence during this current pandemic. We know how challenging a time this is for all of your businesses, and we hope the info that is shared today will help. This idea actually came out of one of the virtual roundtable discussions that SHDC and the City of Shaker Heights Economic Development Department hosted back at the end of March. So we hope we find this helpful. Before we get started and I turn it over to Matt, there are just a couple housekeeping items that I want to mention. Right now, you are all muted to cut down on background noise. But if you wish to ask a question during the presentation, please do so via the chat function. And you can see the show conversation button on your screen there. And at the end of the presentation, when Matt opens it up, feel free to use the audio function or the chat function, whichever you're more comfortable with. But due to the format, we'd like to keep the questions during the presentation just in chat. Just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded so that folks who weren't able to join today are able to see it at a later date. Also, we provided Matt prior to the meeting with the RSVP list so that he knows the types of businesses and the kinds of businesses that are here today. But if you're asking a question verbally, please also state your name and business just so he knows who the question is coming from. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started, and I will turn it over to Matt.
Awesome. Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Everything good? Nick? Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys for attending, not coming out, but jumping online today to join me for this presentation. I hope it's helpful. Like Nick said, this is going to start off as kind of more of an overview, trying to touch some topics that could affect every business. And I'm happy to go as deep in the weeds with you all into individual questions, things that I might not cover in this presentation. Certainly am available to stay on and answer any questions you might have. So with that, let's jump in here. So something that I want to talk about is some of the trends to jump in here to start. We are seeing a big opportunity to focus on transformation for a lot of reasons. The first being that search traffic is up and social media traffic is up. So that makes a lot of sense. People are trapped at home. People are spending a lot more time online and people are searching for things. Big brands and big companies are nervous and slow to react, and they're starting to pull their budgets back from paid advertising until this whole thing simmers down, which is creating opportunity for people that are quick and able to pivot. Cost per impression is down. So when you put money into paid advertising right now, it's stretching farther than it was before the pandemic started because there's less competition. These big brands that were dominating the paid budgets have pulled back. And another exciting thing is that consumers are showing trends that they really are craving a real connection with brands. And while they may not be in the buying cycle right now, they're paying close attention to the way that brands are interacting with their customers and engaging right now. And it's really important. So I know that the topic was kind of focused on social media, and we will be talking about social media, but the three main ways that I'm seeing people transform online right now are developing new revenue streams, replacing in-person events with virtual ones, and doubling down on building their brand in digital ways. And so these are the three main things that I'm going to be digging into today. So the first one being developing new revenue streams online. This somewhat seems straightforward when you think through the lens of launching an e-commerce product, but people are also getting very creative and starting to offer consulting, coaching, virtual experiences. So if you're thinking about launching an e-commerce product and you're a business that hasn't done e-commerce before, the first thing is to think about a product you can sell. We're seeing businesses getting into e-commerce that never were in e-commerce, places like hair salons selling hair products, restaurants selling at-home cooking kits or special sauces or recipes or spice kits, different things that you could sell that allow your audience to support you because people want to buy and use their their buying power to support. The next thing is, after you pick your product, building an e-commerce website. I do have at the end of this presentation a little section on tools. So we're going to get into the tools to execute all of this, and that will be a part of that. And the last part is to build out a marketing campaign to drive traffic to the e-commerce page. So the idea is, if you're going to do e-commerce, you need to put a product online, have a way to sell it, and then drive traffic to that page. And there's different ways, different tactics to kind of drive to that page. For consulting and coaching, the idea is to determine a problem you can help your audience solve remotely. A lot of new problems have come up, and there's an opportunity to sell your expertise through experiences like this online. It's really important to document your process and what customers can expect, and then you can kind of sell your virtual coaching or consulting service like an e-commerce product, and deploy marketing to invite people to engage with you and get coached through different situations. So virtual conferences are something I'm really excited about, and it's something that's going to come up in the next section as well, that is a revenue center that people can kind of create, and any business can do it, and you can do it almost around any topic, no matter how niche it is. So the idea behind a virtual conference is that it's a large scale format of an event that you can actually charge people to have access to the content you create. So the idea is, you'd pick a topic, you'd find speakers, 30 speakers, maybe a lot of content, really high quality content. You'd record all of it. You can build it out. There's different tools that you can use to kind of be the platform. There's a laundry list of tools and platforms that can house all of this. But the idea is, you're creating a 2-3 day seminar with lots of high profile or high value speakers. You launch the event, and then you can sell access to the event. You can sell access to all the recorded content afterwards. And you can really create a revenue stream. You can get sponsors. And so this is a really nice way for businesses that are kind of stuck to look at creating revenue online. So it's going to be a topic in this section as well. The second thing that I'm seeing people pivot to is replacing in-person events with virtual events. There's no secret that all the trade shows, all the in-person sales meetings, everything has been shut down. All the speaking events that people have to educate their audience have been closed. And so there's a new opportunity to move to live streaming, webinars, and virtual conferences. And it really has leveled the playing field because everyone has access to the same tools. So it's kind of to jump into how people are using live streaming. Live streaming is the lowest barrier to entry way to do a virtual event, and it's the easiest way to kind of just get started. Anybody could do it on their phone or computer by just going live on a platform. You can kind of build up to going live and say you're going to be going live. You can ask for people to submit audience questions. You can provide real-time engagement and kind of interact with your audience. I'm seeing people teach live classes. My wife's a dance instructor. She's teaching live dance classes. You can do in real estate. You can schedule live tours. So live streaming is a really great way to connect with people. And it's something that I would suggest exploring if there's a way to make it work into your business. The other thing with live streams, kind of like what we're doing today, is it's great to record any of the content that you're creating by live streaming, record it, and then you can kind of run it as reruns and cut up snippets of what you said and deploy it as content to kind of further promote your brand. So as you're creating video content with live streams, it's awesome to be recording that. Similar to live streams, but a little bit different, is webinars. Webinars are something that I'm sure many of you have started to see kind of pop up, getting invited to webinars to learn about something. These are a little bit more structured. They're typically teaching you a lesson or teaching you something thought leadership related in the industry, giving a demonstration on a new product or new product features, educating around a really specific topic. And some of them are really entertaining, and they're great. So these are branded, I call it branded infotainment. It's information, it's branded, it's promoting your brand, but it also should be somewhat entertaining, kind of that 80-20 rule of 80% informative and teaching you something, but still 20% entertaining to keep the audience engaged. Similar, same thing to the live streaming content. Recording these is really powerful. Giving access to them after they're launched, again, is really powerful. You can kind of repurpose these. You can cut them up into snippets. And that's a really great way to get more content for your business. So virtual conferences again. Virtual conferences are kind of, if you're working your way up from live streams being really simple, webinars being a little bit more involved, virtual conferences are the most in-depth and engaged type of virtual event that you could throw. But they also provide the most value. So these are the larger events. You're essentially piecing together 10 to 30, 40, even I'm working on an event right now where somebody's got 90 sessions where they're all educational sessions, all pieced together. And I've got 1 to 4 days. That's a good fit for the 30. You can space it out over a week. You can space it out over as big as you make it. But the idea is that you're selling access to an event. A lot of these run on the freemium model. So similar to an app where you can download the app for free, you get some of it for free, and then there's paid access or paid upgrades. That's the model that people use for this that's really successful. And it's a really great way to, you can basically allow people to get some of the speakers for free, or you can allow people to get everything for a certain discounted rate. There's lots of ways to build in price packages with virtual conferences to make money. And also the exciting thing about virtual conferences is that they create what we call evergreen content and sales opportunities, because after your conference goes live, you're able to continue to sell access to the content that was created in the conference. So it would go live, let's say it goes live on May 1st, it goes live on May 1st. After May 4th, when it's done, you could run a campaign saying, hey, we've got all this conference information. You can still buy it. You can still get access to all of the recordings, and you can continue to sell that ongoing after the conference, which is really exciting for people that are looking for new revenue streams. So doubling down on building brand. I think this is probably the most important section to cover, and it kind of starts to tap on a lot of the questions that I think many of you may have around how to be selling, what to be saying, and how to position yourself in this situation. And so the kind of the topics are deploying contextual creative, providing value, sharing your perspective and your experience, and continuing to nurture relationships. So what do I mean by deploy contextual creative? Contextual creative is meaning that everything that your business is saying or doing or deploying through any marketing channel or sales channel is empathetic and relevant to the situation. So if you're somebody who had pre-scheduled social media posts or emails, or you have a script for your sales script, or you have a way of doing things, that all needs to be adjusted right now to make sure that you are empathetic to what your audience is going through. This is something that's been a big project for my agency, going back through and kind of redoing all of our email campaigns, redoing all of our ads to make sure that our businesses are actually identifying with the audience in a real way, saying, hey, I hear you. I know what you're going through. Things are different. Here's why I'm still running this advertisement. Here's why I'm still reaching out to you. And giving a reason that's very, very relevant to the times, and not just continuing with the same sales message. So this is the kind of the key to being able to continue to sell. If you're empathetic and relevant to your customer, you're able to continue to kind of have those sales centric conversations, because everybody still wants to have the economy moving. You have to continue to sell. Another thing that seems pretty straightforward, but it's worth mentioning, is providing as much value as you can. Now is the time that people are struggling. People are really struggling. So if there's any way for you to offer free content or free services or discounted, or help first responders, or do things in your community, now's the time to do those things, and also promote that you're doing those things, and take credit for them. It's not a bad thing to do something nice and then post about it and say what you did and why you did it. That's a really good thing to build your brand, and people are going to remember the brands that are taking action right now to help their community. I know every business, depending on what you do, has different opportunities, and so it's certainly not saying that, if you're closed down and you don't have any physical resources to give or something, that you have to find a way. But just thinking through, the different ways that you as a business or an owner or an organization can be helpful and provide value to your audience. People are really paying attention and engaging with those things right now. When we talk about content, there's never been a better time to start creating content and start sharing your perspective and your story and building an audience of people that know who you are and want to support you. There's no question that the buying cycle is very different right now, and people may not be buying, but people are certainly forming relationships, and people are deciding who they want to support and deciding what businesses they're hoping and pulling for. And as owners, it's really important that we all start to connect and build that human relationship with our audience. So I talk about sharing your story. There's only one you. One pushback, I think, or fear that a lot of people have when they think about creating content and sharing their stories, somebody else already said it. Somebody else already said it better. Why should I say it? If there's already 10 people talking about it, there's only one you, and there's only one way that you're going to say it, and that's okay. And it's really important for you to get out there and share your message with, even if you only have 50 followers, 100 followers, a small audience. It's really important for you to be connecting with those people, because those are the people that are going to be supporting you and kind of helping you carry through this. Picking a format that's comfortable. This is really important. Sometimes there's nothing that's comfortable until you get started. But for some people, written word, they're really good writers. They stumble over their words when they talk. But writing, they can write really well. Some people, when they get in front of the camera, it's just lights, camera, action. They can flow. They can have an amazing video produced immediately, but they can't write with good grammar at all. So I think it's really important to be self-aware. There's audio content you can produce, like a podcast. There's written word content, like posting long-form posts and articles and blogs. And there's video, which video is something that is really, really great if you are comfortable getting on video. But the idea is, if you pick a format that you're not comfortable with, there's less likely chance that you're going to continue. So I would suggest try starting with the format that's the most comfortable and then expand from there. Posting where your audience is. So I don't recommend posting the same thing everywhere, always. There's different audiences on different platforms, and it's really important to think through where your audience is and what they're looking for. So there's a big difference between the content that people are consuming on LinkedIn and the content that people are consuming on Facebook and the content that people are consuming on Instagram. And so if you know your audience is on Instagram, then you need to be thinking through how to create content that fits in on Instagram and put that content out there. If you know your audience is not on Facebook at all, there's no reason for you to continue putting effort into Facebook. So it is important to kind of think about being omni-channel and hitting different audiences. But if you know your audience is in one place, or you just want to focus on one place to start, that's totally fine. So I would say post where your audience is really important. You don't get bogged down with needing to post everywhere. If you're going from zero to getting started, just start with where your audience is. And don't overthink it. Just get started. The idea is try to provide high quality content of value. And if you're providing things that seem like they're valuable, then it's not too much. And you should do as much as you can that's valuable. And so there's a lot of kind of wiggle room in there. If you're able to post once a week, really great content, post once a week. If you're able to post once a day, post once a day. But don't post garbage once a day just because you feel like you have to post once a day. So yeah, nurturing relationships. I think that nurturing relationships is another absolutely essential thing that we could be doing right now. And this is just the human connection of picking up the phone and checking in with customers, see how they're doing, sending personalized emails, doing things that you can to check in with people in your audience and your customers, genuinely just to see how they're doing, because people are forming relationships right now. And when they get out of this, they're going to remember who checked in on them, and they're going to remember who was thinking about them. The other thing is providing status updates on your business. Your audience cares about you. Your audience wishes they could come out and support you in your retail shop. And the fact that they can't is very concerning to them, just like it's very concerning to you. So providing updates, providing ways that they can support you is really important. And it's relevant to the times. And the last thing is reaching out to old friends, colleagues, and connections. I mean, this is something that it's kind of time to stir the pot and see what's out there and see what everybody's up to. I think that it's a great time to be reaching out and communicating where you're at, asking where people are at in their process or their life or whatever's going on, and just kind of trying to reposition yourself so that when this all blows over, you've got new connections and new conversations going on. You've reconnected with some people. I've had a few conversations with people, just even friends from school that I just haven't talked to in months. And it's been great to reconnect. And I'm not sure how that's going to affect business. But I'm sure that at some point those things will kind of come back around. So now getting into some of the more tactical things. I've got a tools list here, and this is the last section before questions. These are some recommended tools that either we use or we're seeing people use DIY that you could use on your own to help kind of execute some of these things we've been talking about and take your business to the next level online. So for e-commerce website, so if you're looking to revamp your website or create a new website or something like that, we recommend WordPress. WordPress is very easy to use. It's something that once it's set up, it's pretty user-friendly. You're able to edit everything. There are other ones out there, and that's fine. HubSpot, CMS is also a good one, and there are some other DIY tools that are fine. E-commerce plugins. So if you're going to do e-commerce, you're going to need a plugin, something to handle the e-commerce actual interactions. We recommend WooCommerce or Shopify based on their fees and just their ease of use and the way that you're able to set it up on your own. For payment processor, Square or Stripe, kind of same thing based on user-friendly and low fees. And then Google Analytics. So if you've got a website, you need to make sure, this is really important. If you have a website, you need to make sure you have Google Analytics set up and installed. Google Analytics, what it does is it gives you the ability to have insight into the data of everybody that's coming to your website. That's the tool that actually tracks every single thing that's going on. And so it's really important to get that on there as soon as possible, because then you can kind of look at the data and make decisions based on that. So graphic design, best DIY tool is definitely Canva. I'm not sure how many of you have experience with this yet, but Canva has a great free and relatively cheap paid pro option that essentially gives you templates, gives you resources, lets you upload photos, change fonts, change colors, and essentially do drag and drop graphic design in the correct sizing and formats for all the platforms. So that's really awesome. That's something that I use myself when I'm making my own social media. Like sometimes I have graphic designers to help me make posts. Sometimes I just want to make posts myself in the nature of speed. I use Canva. We use Canva. It's pretty much industry standard at this point outside of having a graphic designer in their professional tools. So video conferencing. So if you're going to be doing a webinar or be hosting those types of events with webinars or virtual conferences, you need a video conferencing platform. We recommend Zoom meetings. There are other ones like Google Hangouts and like what we're on right now with Microsoft, the team platform. Those are all fine. It doesn't really matter. The only reason why we say Zoom for now is just because it seems to be something that people are comfortable with, and it's become kind of the mainstream player. But any of these tools are fine. The idea is that you'd record, like Nick's recording this, and then you can go back through and you can add captions. And so if you've ever seen on Facebook or something, the videos that are playing and they've got captions underneath the talking head, there are tools to do that for you so that you don't have to type it out and do that manually. So we use a tool called Veed.io. It's really cheap. I think it's like $6 a month or something. Um, and there are a lot of features in Veed that we like, including the fact that you can, it's the way it uploads, the way it downloads, the way you can go through and clean up the edit so that it's saying the correct words, because it doesn't get it perfect. So you can go back through and edit the words so it says it exactly how you'd like. And so those are really powerful tools to kind of get going with recording some of that video content. We talk about marketing platforms. It's really important to have tools that are helping you run your digital marketing. Otherwise, it becomes a huge burden. So the recommended tool, the most robust tool that we use as an agency is called HubSpot. HubSpot provides a CRM, an email marketing tool, social media scheduling, great automation, and it tracks all of the online metrics with dashboards all in one system. So the big thing with HubSpot is that it's an all-in-one system that puts everything in one place, and it tracks every interaction that your customer would have from the second that they either receive an email or get to your website all the way through a sale. And no matter when, if they leave the website, they come back, it builds out a profile for that person and provides a ton of data for us to leverage in marketing. So HubSpot cost ranges from starts free, depending on your functionality and your number of contacts. You can start off with HubSpot for free. And then there's a $50 a month package all the way up to over $1,000 a month. A lot of times that expensive number comes from high volume databases of contacts, because they do have a price model that's based on contacts. So there are ways to work around that big number, and we only have one client that's even close to that. So I would say that it's certainly worth evaluating HubSpot to see if there's a way to make it work with your cost model. If you're looking for other tools, maybe you have reasons why we need to either keep costs down, or we're just looking for some quicker things that are not as all in one. Social media calendaring is a big challenge for people, kind of as a standalone thing, and Hootsuite is a great tool. You can get their professional account for $29 a month, and Hootsuite basically allows you to run all of your social media calendaring and scheduling functionality and posting out of one account. So you can be scheduling posts on your LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, scheduling all that out, managing all the inboxes and replies, doing that all in one tool, which is awesome. If you're going to go this route, that's social media, you'd also need an email platform. In this route, we'd recommend MailChimp. MailChimp is free up to 2,500 contacts, and it allows you to do segmenting, and it's pretty powerful for what it offers for a free email platform. So we like MailChimp. So Google My Business, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Google My Business, but Google My Business is a really powerful tool as well. And this is something that's almost like a social media profile for your business that Google allows you to fill out. So basically, Google My Business is when you search for a business, it's that panel on the right of the search pane that says all your business information, your hours, it shows your reviews, it shows your photos, it shows if any local people have come by to write a review. And so this is something really important that if you haven't done this yet, you should. And so these are the quick steps. There's definitely more detail, but you go on, you claim your business, which is a pretty easy step if it's not claimed yet. If it has been claimed by another Gmail account or something, you may need to send yourself a postcard with a code to your business. But then you build out the profile. You kind of go through the steps, just fill out the profile with your info, your hours, any photos of your business, things like that. Users can take action from this. So if there's a place to call, there's a click to call directly in the profile, which is important. Anything like that you can include is great. There is a place where you can post offers, you can respond to reviews, you can promote events. So this is kind of just another platform when people are thinking through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, to not forget about Google My Business, because, excuse me, Google My Business really is great, especially for local business and small local business. It's a very powerful thing. So paid advertising. When we talk about digital marketing, we typically talk about it in two realms. We talk about organic and we talk about paid. So organic is anything that you're posting on your own page and it only gets shared with your audience or people that follow you. We talk about paid advertising. Paid allows you to open up that window and pay to reach new audiences that are targeted based on the criteria you set. So it's really important to think through that criteria and what audiences are where. So for example, we know that certain younger, very young age demographics are not spending much time on Facebook. So if you were selling a product to a 15-year-old, you probably wouldn't want to spend too much effort paying for traffic on Facebook because your audience isn't there. On the flip side, for B2B, there's been a lot of traction on LinkedIn, as we know that professionals love living on LinkedIn, and there's a lot of opportunity there. So it's the idea behind paid advertising is understanding your audience, understanding where they're spending their time and where they're searching and what platforms they like to be on, and then creating paid ads that drive back to your page or your offering, to capture that attention from either Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Google as people are searching on Google, and drive them to a page for your business. And so paid advertising is somewhere where the more money, if you're doing it the correct way, you can kind of ramp up and you can start to test with a smaller budget, and then you can ramp up your budget and continue to improve your results as you learn what's working or not working. So I guess at this time, I want to open it up to questions, and dive in here with anything that you guys have on your mind. So let's see here.
Thank you very much, Matt. So folks can ask a question either via chat or by unmuting with the button on your screen and asking it that way. Matt, I have a question maybe to kick things off.
Sure.
You talked a little bit about posting different content on different platforms. Can you talk a little bit more about maybe how retail businesses and restaurants want to think about Instagram versus Facebook versus Twitter versus LinkedIn?
Yeah, so I would really think about the product that you're looking to sell and the audience that you have. So it's kind of different, but the answer to that is really about audience, and so depending on the audience you're trying to reach with your message determines what platform you want to be on.
Matt, are you able to see the chats?
Yeah, I just saw these coming in. I just opened it up.
3 good ones coming in here.
Yep. Okay, so let's run through some of these. So Rochelle asked, what is Google Suite and should I be using it? So Google Suite is a little bit different than Google AdWords and Google My Business. Google Suite is it's actually funny you asked. We actually just switched our agency over to Google Suite last week. It's a business choice. Google Suite allows you to basically run your email through Gmail. It puts you on the Google platform as a business. That's really more of a business operational decision. It's kind of choosing, for example, the Microsoft world would be Outlook and Microsoft Word and PowerPoint. If you move to Google Suite, you'd be on the Gmail platform and Google Docs and Sheets and kind of running through Google Drive, and it gives you Google Hangouts, which is a Zoom type platform. Like this is the Microsoft platform. And so that's a business decision. It's not really a marketing decision. Google Suite. So let's see. Lisa asked, do you recommend a minimum daily budget for Google Ads advertising? We typically set a monthly budget for these things. I don't want to overstep my expertise. We do recommend when we're working with clients, we set a monthly budget and we let it run, and we start to adjust through the month to see what's working and not working. And that's been a really good path. So as far as a daily recommendation, not so much on a day by day. The question of a recommendation, I think that really depends on the business case. But we're looking for an amount. We typically start probably around at least a couple $100, maybe $500 over a month, to kind of start to see how the ads are working. And that budget, that 500, we might split that over Facebook and Google and see what's working better and then adjust. And a lot of what we do with paid advertising is testing the platforms. And so we think people are on Facebook, we think people are on LinkedIn, but we might run ads on both to prove it and see, and then pivot mid-month based on what's working or not working. Okay, let's see here. So Mike asked, we use Constant Contact and have quite a large list. HubSpot sounds interesting. Would that be something for us to look at? We use Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as paid ads. So yes, Constant Contact is a great email platform. Constant Contact would kind of be in line of MailChimp, similar, just handling email. HubSpot definitely would be something that's interesting to evaluate, and there are price models where you can import and export your contacts to kind of get around some of the price barrier that's created by large databases. So I certainly think it's an opportunity. We'd have to dig in a little bit deeper with that, but the idea with HubSpot is that the difference between HubSpot and something like Constant Contact is that everything would be tracking all the interactions, and you'd be managing all your social and your email and everything in one place, but then also it would be tracking all the interactions for those customers in one place, so you're able to segment your list better. What do you think of single platform? Mark, I'm not familiar. I would need a little bit more of a follow-up on single platform. So Rochelle asked, this is a great question. Rochelle asked, I'm an attorney and not selling a product. Would you recommend doing anything differently? So I think for somebody who's an attorney, now is the time to be talking about, to be sharing your expertise and building brand and trying to build connections with content. So now is the time to be building content and doing online networking and trying to get your name out there and get your brand more well known, so that when people are ready to engage with your service as things kind of shift, they know you and they're thinking about you, and they know your story. They know what you've been up to for the past 6 months while everyone's on lockdown. There's a great opportunity to be sharing personal stories and anecdotes and lessons and education right now. How can you make authentic content or engagement with your audience that is more than just selling a product or pandering? So this is a great question also. I think that how can you make authentic content with your audience is really about deciding. The way that I think about it is I've kind of, for myself personally, I've kind of created some different like topic buckets of things that I like to talk about in my content. So I think this is a great place to start to kind of get your thoughts organized. It's something that works for me, where I know that so my audience is business owners and sales VPs and sales directors and marketing directors. And those are my primary audiences. I also have a secondary audience of younger professionals who are people that are looking for professional development that I work with to help resumes and things like that as a secondary audience. So I kind of have different buckets where I am. Thank you, Rochelle. So the I think that the idea is creating topics that you are comfortable sharing and talking about, and then trying to push yourself into the position of making yourself share what's in your head. So I know in the morning when I drink a cup of coffee, my mind starts to race. And by the time I get out of the shower, I've got something on my mind. I've started to take that and document it so that I have content to share. And I'm just taking my thoughts out of my head and putting it out there. And it's not about selling my products. And so I think that's the idea, is that you don't only need to be talking about your business. You don't only need to be talking about your product. You can be talking about yourself. You can be talking about your opinion about what's going on in the world. And you can be sharing just your perspective really on anything through your own lens. And it does not need to be constantly about the product or your business. It can just be you sharing your perspective on what's going on. And that helps build your own personal brand and connection with these people.
Excellent. Are there any additional questions for Matt before we wrap things up here? Going once. All right. Well, I think we'll stop there. Matt, thank you very much for this very informative and thorough presentation. We really appreciate it. A lot of great content here. Thank you all for joining. We hope you found it beneficial as well. As we mentioned earlier, this was recorded and we'll have it up online for folks who want to come back and watch something else or watch it again, or available for folks who weren't able to make it today. Also, when we send it out, we'll also send out Matt's contact info. So if you want to follow up directly with him, you can do that. And last but not least, if you have ideas for future webinars in the future, let us know. We're going to be putting these together on a more regular basis, hopefully on a variety of different topics that are of interest to the business community here in Shaker. So please feel free to either let myself or Tuba know if you have a suggestion or a topic you want to explore. So with that, we'll close it out. Thank you again, Matt. Thank you all for coming, and have a great rest of your Friday, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.